Heart first leadership isn't what you say, it's how you show up, how you regulate, how you communicate, and how you execute when it matters most. We are Heidi and Ryan Sawyer, and you are listening to the Heart First Leadership Podcast.
I have a special guest for you today. This young man is on fire. Nolan. He's a speaker, a coach, a Division I athlete at Eastern Washington University. He's a wide receiver who received all conference honors as a junior. And this guy has so much going on and is such a huge heart in service to others. I'm just going to tell you that this is the most passionate and inspired human being I have ever come across. And he has opened me up in the relationship we have built together that has just changed how I view service to others. Just listen to what he has going on. Not only is he a college athlete playing football at the Division I level, he also runs a nonprofit football camp that is sponsored by the NFL that gives back to a charity called Mamas for single mothers in need. He also runs an app where he helps young football players take their performance to the next level through coaching. He has a podcast called Make It Happen Podcast. This man is everywhere, all over social media. You cannot miss him. And he is just so inspiring. So just buckle up and just absorb the passion and the energy this man has and his heart for service. Anybody and everybody has something to learn from this young man's story of resiliency and then turning that into service. I hope you enjoy. Welcome back to the show, and thank you, Nolan, for joining us on this podcast. I am beyond excited. I know every podcast host says that, right? I'm so excited, but I'm really just stoked to have this conversation. Cannot wait to see where this conversation goes. And I just want to give you a little bit of a nod before we start here, before you introduce yourself and share your story. And I think that I've learned more from working with you than anybody else I've ever worked with, just because of the back and forth and because of your willingness and your openness and your readiness. Wow, you're just so incredibly inspiring. So I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to be here.
Oh, of course. Of course. It's an honor to be here with you. And it's really cool to think back to that first time that we met in that coffee shop on Eastern's campus and where we are today, all the talks that we've had and the journey that we've been on. I knew something special was going to come out of this relationship just the moment you gave me that hug when we first met. And so I'm super, super grateful for you and the mentor that you've been. It's funny, right? You would have thought in a different lifetime, you would have still been coaching at Eastern and that's how we would have met. But it's funny how we met and, outside of that. So super, super grateful to be here. Yeah, I'm actually from Canada. So, if we have any Canadians listening, shout out to Canada.
There it is. Yeah.
And so it's really crazy for me to be on a podcast with you, right? Because I shouldn't be here, right? That's what a lot of people would have said. I was born in Edmonton, Alberta. So go Oilers right now. Hopefully they beat the Canucks. We'll see. I was born in Edmonton. And other than the Oilers, there's not really much there, Ryan. So, I was born to an 18-year-old mother. She had me. My dad was actually 16 when I was born, turned 17 a month later. And my dad was a good dude. He was a really good dude in his heart, but he had a mom that took a ton of advantage of him. And so she enabled him a ton. And he ended up just getting into a bad scene. She left his life when he was 4 years old, came back when he was 16. Unexplained, just really, really weird situation. She comes back and then she's the mom that's bringing home a keg and saying, hey, you can have whoever you want to have come over. Not good for a 16-year-old, 17-year-old to have that sort of freedom for any of us, right? And of course, you already know what my dad did is he went and had ragers at his house. And so got into that scene, got into the rave scene and it just wasn't good. And my mom, we were living with my grandma at the time, and my grandma and my mom took incredible care of me. I wouldn't really see my dad that much. Only really a couple times he would just go and spoil me. So fast forward, I'm 3 years old and my mom has this dream. This is a crazy story. My mom has this dream and she sees my dad and his head's in a bucket and the bucket says cocaine on it. And so my mom had no thoughts of this idea before. And the next morning she wakes up, calls my dad and says, "Hey, Luke, are you doing cocaine?" And there's silence on the other end.
Hmm.
How did you know? Right? It gives me chills even just to think about
Yeah.
this. And so that was kind of my mom's introduction to, okay, my dad totally has a cocaine addiction, and he was never physically abusive. He never would have done that. But he would call her and just, it was a toxic environment. So my mom said, you know what? Screw it. I'm 21 years old. I got a 3-year-old and I got a beaten up Toyota Corolla. We're going to pack up and drive 8 hours to where we have some family in a town, a couple states over, one province over, right? Provinces are huge. We only got 8 of them. So we travel 8 hours over. And we get there and family doesn't really help us. Family doesn't really help us. They don't
Hmm.
come, and we move into low income housing. So my mom gets a job. It's not enough. She gets another job. She starts eating 7-layer dip so that I can eat good food. We have suitcases for tables. I mean, for me, I didn't know any better. I'm just there playing in the room and whatever. It's fun. More room to play for me, right? We have no furniture. We have nothing. She gets a third job, right? And she's grinding. But things are turning up because where we were at, Kelowna, beautiful city. And the people at my daycare loved me. The neighborhood was not the best, not at all. In fact, a month after we moved out of that place, our next door neighbor murdered his wife and their little baby. So, I mean, you name it. Looking back on some of the instances, I didn't know what was going on, but these kids would stop me, ask me what my name is. You could see just parents were definitely, if they weren't dealing, they were a part of it somehow, just the interactions that happened. And so, not a great situation, but it's looking up. And then, a couple years into being there, my mom goes to hairdressing school, and it's going to be a really good opportunity for her to get one job and just be doing that, a really good skill that she's going to get. And then she got a phone call one day, and it broke her heart. It broke her heart because Luke had passed away in a motorcycle accident, my dad. And it broke her heart, but I think just as much and probably even more was the fact that she had to break the news to me.
Sure.
Now I'm 5 years old. I have no idea what's going on. But Ryan, this day I'll never forget for the rest of my life. For the rest of my life, I don't remember how I got there, but I remember sitting in the living room
Hmm.
and my mom's sitting across from me, and she's got glasses, blonde hair up in a ponytail, cross-legged, sitting on this couch. And my auntie and uncle are there, but I don't think they're in the room. They're just around. So now they come, right? Because this is a pretty big event that's happened.
Sure.
And she's sitting there. She's fixing her glasses. She's rubbing the tears off her face. And she looked at me and said, "Your dad is no longer here, Nolan." I'm 5 years old. I remember that crystal clear. That's really that moment right there, right? And that was life defining for me, right? At the time, I had no idea. I'm just like, okay, yeah, like I don't really know what that means. But I look back to that moment now, and it's really the foundational belief that I have that this life is a gift. And Ryan, crazy, in July, I haven't told many people this. In July, I will have lived longer than my dad ever did, 22 years old.
Wow.
And so pretty powerful for me. And every single day, my alarm clock, it's labeled my dad's name and uh, hyphenated gift, because this life is a gift. And that's really a lot of where my story starts. And then, you flash forward, mom gets into hairdressing school, and we end up moving out every single morning. These lessons from my mom, they stick with me. I know it's a pretty long introduction on who I
Oh
am.
no, it's all important, man. Yeah.
Foundational elements of who I am. Like looking back on it, I'm just so blessed. And so, the crazy thing about my dad passing away too is he was actually supposed to come out, and that next weekend I hadn't seen him in a year, and he was going to come out and see me. But it never ended up happening. And you talk about this all the time, right? Right? Like everything happens for you. I never ever saw it as anything but that.
Hmm.
Crazy as that sounds, some people would say, "Wow, it's so morbid that like that you would say that about your dad's death." But from a really young age, I learned quickly, subconsciously about meaning and how important that is, right? You talk about that all the time. And who knows what would have happened if my dad was still alive, but I saw a very similar situation with a friend growing up where that dad, it was this exact same thing, kind of party scene, and enabled that that kid, right? And he didn't have the opportunities I had because I didn't like he was getting distracted on the weekend with his dad, and I never had that. So every single morning we'd be in our Toyota Corolla in this low income housing. And I remember it's a really, really sad setting, Ryan, when you're sitting there in the morning, and I don't know anything different, but you look to the right and left on a cold Canadian morning, and everyone's looking to start their cars, right? And I mean, it's just like crappy car after crappy car, beater, and everyone's having trouble starting their car. That's the scene every 8 a.m. at these low-income housing spots. Really, really sad. So we're starting our Toyota Corolla, and I can just remember every morning, three things. Every single day she would pray for these three outcomes. And this is foundational for my life too. I still have three pillars to this day that I chase every single day, right? The vision. And she was praying for a new man in her life, for us to have a new house, and for siblings for me, more kids. And so she prayed that every day. And it's funny, that created her reality. We started going to church. She met a guy at church, right? That's a really good place to meet someone,
Yeah.
mostly, right? Better than the nightclub.
Hope so anyway.
Yeah. And she met my stepdad, who came into my life and really was like a mentor for me, and gave me guidance and showed me had CrossFit and these things that changed my life. And then, a little bit later, they co-signed with my grandparents, got a new house. So now we're out of low-income housing. We're in the upper Mission. So the NHL wife neighborhood, I mean, we're a little bit off. There was like this section of the neighborhood that wasn't burned down by a fire. It was a little older, so we were able to make it in there, but completely different world. So radical shift in our life with that. And then now I have two little brothers that are 7 and 8 years old. You look back at that. She prayed every single day, and it didn't show up after one day. It didn't show up after a week, a month, a year. But slowly these things started to show up in her life. And so that really changed our life. And then, I fast forward through some troubling years in middle school and just weirdness and hormones. And really my freshman year, a lot changed for me. I was walking through my house, and you've heard this before. I was walking through my house and I saw Rocky 5 on the TV, right? Like Rocky 5 is the weird one where he's training that guy, Tommy, I think, or something like that. And I haven't ever watched it again because I was like, this one is the only one that sucks. But they're fighting in a bar. I'm like, wow, I didn't even know there was Rocky 5. Hey, Grandma, can you get me the Blu-ray set back when Blu-rays were a thing? Can you get me the Blu-rays for the Rocky series? I've never really watched it. And so life changed a lot. We were going on a family vacation to Hawaii. So we elevated quite a bit. So I took these Blu-rays to Hawaii. Everyone went to bed, and I popped Rocky 1 in, and hit me in my heart. I never knew a story, a movie, a character could impact someone so deeply. And that first scene, and it's a song. I listen to that song every single morning. It's called Philadelphia Morning. And it's just this horn, and it's a scene where he stops the alarm clock at 4:15 or 4 o'clock, whatever it is. It's 4 a.m., chugs the raw eggs, goes and runs. And at this time he's smoking in the movie still. So he's coughing out on the street, right? And there's no one out there. It shows the post service. There's nothing out there. And he runs to the top of the stairs. And to me, it's my favorite time when he runs to the top of the stairs, because it's so real. That's what it's like. Everyone has a Rocky montage in their life, but it might not last, 5 months. It might last 5 years for people. And there is no Apollo that you're fighting. You don't even know who Apollo is. You're just striving after your goal. And so after I saw that, I knew that I could be Rocky. And I don't know, I came home and I literally started waking up at 5 a.m., 4 a.m. like Rocky. Would work out in the morning, would work out in the evening at the CrossFit gym with my dad. And I played football my whole life, but I was always good. It was just like something that I did, though, because it came pretty natural to me. But that's not saying much. Like, it was a small town in Canada. So I was pretty average. And I just remember that really changed my life. And then I was sitting in a computer lab in my freshman year, and I'm just looking at this picture of the guy that committed to go play D1 football. And that's when it really hit me. What my specialty role at that time in my life was going Division I and playing D1 football. So I gave everything to that. The next 3 years, 4 years, completely shifted my life. I mean, looked into all that stuff, what to eat, what to drink, when to go to bed, Jocko, discipline wins, like 4 a.m. wake ups. I went through all this stuff, and that's what really sparked my journey to self-growth, chase that self-mastery. And I ended up getting a bunch of D1 offers. The one that was, I didn't even know Eastern was only 5 hours away. And the receiver lineage that came out of here really is what led me to where I am now, where I'm heading into my senior season, where it was the exact same thing. I got here, got my ass kicked, and for 4 years, and it's slowly gotten better every year. And now I'm really in a position to go have a chance to go play pro football, which has been the ultimate calling the whole time. So that's kind of my story. And a lot of it, like I said, is just so early in my life, these experiences that I had and the meaning that I took from them shaped who I am today.
We are all leaders. If you're ready to stop waiting and start impacting your environment in a powerful way, we want to connect with you. Click the Book Now link in the show notes to book a call with a Heart First coach and discover what Heart First leadership can look like in your life and in your environment. Now back to the show.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, thank you for sharing all of that. And it's incredibly inspiring. The first thing that just absolutely like stood out to me is that at a young age, you had this innate ability to be able to see how adversity was for you. Like, can you just even like just take a moment and just imagine if the world operated as if, where we legitimately just recognize that everything is happening in a way that if we choose to look at it with the right attitude, that it shapes us, it forms us, and it makes us stronger.
Yeah.
Right. And like, just to know, like, wow, like, okay, so what's next? Like, whatever's next, I'm going to take it on. I'm going to face it. So I just wanted to highlight that. Like, that is phenomenal. That is phenomenal, right? To just have that from a young age. So to have found your inspiration at a young age, right? Because the level of passion that you speak with, the level of conviction and commitment that you speak with, like sometimes even gets me a little bit to fidget in my chair. And there's very few people in this world that I know that can get me to fidget in my chair. Like, you know, there's people who I surround myself with intentionally, that I've trained with, that I've seeked out, and mentorship that can make me feel really uncomfortable and make me realize I have a long ways to go. But there's, you know, in my circle, that's not very apparent, right? And so thank you for being somebody who can make me fidget in my chair. Like, to have found that inspiration at such a young age, what has led you to be able to like stay connected, right? Because it's one thing to be motivated in a moment. It's one thing to listen to or watch a Rocky movie, which I love that you love Rocky. Like, it's my favorite, my favorite series. I saw this little hoax the other day where they said they're going to come out with like a Rocky 7 or 8 or whatever it's going to be, right? And I'm like, oh, I hope so. And I'm like, I don't care how corny it is. It's Sylvester Stallone. It's Rocky Balboa. Let's go. Get him back in the ring one more time. Anyway, how do you stay connected to that? Because I know for me, the majority of my life, like, wasn't the way it is now, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't in my early 20s as inspired, as motivated as you are. I know most people struggle with being inspired or finding what inspires them and staying motivated. Most people go to bed on a Friday night after watching a movie like Rocky, thinking that tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up and I'm going to change the world. I'm going to crush it. But tomorrow morning, when Saturday morning rolls around, they hit snooze.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, beyond it just somehow being born in you, right? Like, what is it that you've done? I mean, I know that there's things that you do to stay connected. And I would love to start there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's good to pre-frame this too, that I was not the most motivated, disciplined. You know, I always was. There's some things I was definitely very blessed with. And as crazy as it sounds, like we talked about, like my father passing away was a blessing in that, you know, it made me mature very, very quickly. And my mom being a single mother, what do I have to do? I always have to come with her, right? Doesn't have a lot of money. So there was never really a babysitter. So I was always like allowed to be around adults and hear conversations. And that's, I think, really allowed me to skip a couple beats. I always was friends with kids that were older. But other than that, I wasn't really given much. I mean, I remember I used to play video games all the time. I know it's a super normal thing to do, but like my passion and intensity and focus, like I would grind on video games, and because it felt good, you know? And I mean, that's me in middle school. I don't beat myself up about that. But I think it's hard to explain, but there's this voice within all of us, I really believe. And there's another really key moment that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. And it was actually that freshman year, it was after we lost a playoff game. And I remember sitting there, and it had been something for a while. I just knew it was on my heart to go hard, to be more than just good. I just was sick of just being like, just in the pack. And I had that initially, and then I fractured my hip actually going into summer. So I didn't do it that summer. And then after that next season, I remember it was like, okay, like this is really the time. And then that's where I really believe that the law of expectancy, right? Like what we focus on is going to expand. And so I just started kind of looking for that, and it showed up. And it wasn't perfect this whole journey. Like there's times where, I mean, I really didn't waver on my discipline, but there was times where it wasn't easy. And I think that's a part of the human experience. But I think what really connected me to that is this is going to sound crazy too, but I do this quite a bit. And this just always came on my heart. I always talk about legendary ideas and legendary action. Like we all have these legendary thoughts, like you said, where we watch Rocky, we want to wake up, and then all of a sudden, yeah, it's like now it gets real. It's our Philadelphia morning where it's cold, it's 4 a.m., you feel like crap, and you're like, okay, this sucks. Like I didn't realize this is what I signed up for. I do not feel like I did the day before. Right. But for me, there was a couple things that really led to this. One of them was I really made commitments to myself that I really meant. I would listen to music that took me to a deep emotional place where when I made this commitment, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. It was like, it wasn't a should, it was a must. And I would go and I'd be different views. I remember there's just one spot by my house, and I go listen to these couple songs that really take me to that place. And it was D1, like I must. It's a calling. And really what came from is we'll do more for other people than we ever will for ourselves. As much as people don't want to believe that, it's true. Because, you got loved one in the fire building, you're going to go and get them. You'll do crazy things for others when it really comes down to it. And so I really linked my journey to showing everyone else what was possible. So there's a couple different things. And then one that really, I think is what led me to it is I knew it was going to suck. I knew it was going to suck. And so there was actually a couple times when I was in 6th grade, now that I think back to it, that you're bringing this up, where I did wake up early. My stepdad had a really good model in that, waking up early discipline, right? Or, committing to something and sticking to it. And he would go we had a shed, and it'd be freezing cold. He'd go in the shed and back squat in the mornings. And this is just like a normal businessman. Like he's working out twice a day. I don't even know what for. He's just disciplined, But I would go with him, and I'd go in there, and I remember like looking back, I'd go and like sit in a lawn chair. I'd go run a loop with him, and I'd sit in the lawn chair, and then he'd be like, "What are you doing here? Like, are you going to do something?" I'd do like 20 sit-ups. So like I would sometimes show up, but like I never really committed. And when I really committed is when I was like, okay, I know it's going to be cold. I know it's going to suck. I know it's going to be dark. What's going to get me through this? Okay, I know what to expect. And so let's rehearse it a little bit. I'm going to get up. I'm going to do these things like as simple as that wake up is, right? And then I started doing that with everything. I know I'm going to feel really tired before my 3rd workout of the day. I know it's going to be really hard to make that choice between going with my friends to this party or going to the gym to get another workout. It keeps coming back to the workouts, right? Or to read when I want to go or watch a YouTube video by Kelly Starrett about, mobility instead of going and playing Arkham Knight, the Batman video game. And so I think it was that mental rehearsal, committing to myself and really making it not about myself, but about others. You add those 3 things in, I think it's pretty hard not to stay committed to what you set out for.
I think that word commitment gets thrown around like, but when you truly decide something, when you truly is this idea of going all in, are you trying to tell me that you naturally understood mental rehearsal before you knew it was called mental rehearsal? Because what you are explaining is very high level habit forming techniques, I would call them, where you're able to predict adversity and then how you're going to respond and what you're going to make that adversity mean. Like this is the stuff that we teach, right? Is if someone struggles to get out of bed in the morning and to get themselves to the gym, for example, right? That to not act like the motivation is going to be there. So let's say it's a 5 a.m. wake up, that that you're going to be tired. And so that you're going to have this urge to hit snooze. And so then you see yourself putting your feet on the ground anyway. And you see yourself getting up anyway. You see yourself getting dressed anyway and going to the gym. It's cold in the car and you're scraping off the ice off the windshield or whatever you got to do. Like you allow yourself to experience the almost the worst case scenario and all the resistance. And then you see yourself at the gym and you see it being the third set and you're tired and whatever. But you see yourself pushing through that resistance and doing it anyway, right? Like giving your brain neurologically the pathway to follow when things get hard because you feel like you've already been there because you rehearsed them. And this takes me back because I'm almost at a place where I remember it, but I don't experience it anymore. Like where I come from in the sense of my story of overcoming depression and panic attacks and all the things that I went through is that I remember there being a time where I used my mind to rehearse before I knew what mental rehearsal was, like the very next step. Like put your feet on the floor, dude. I'm talking about I'd be laying in bed and I knew that I had to get up and train if I wanted to change my life. I knew how to train my mind. I knew, but at the time I didn't have the resources to do it. Like I just didn't have the motivation, the inspiration. So all I could see myself doing was legitimately one step in front of myself. And so I'd lay in bed and I would visualize before I knew how to visualize. I would visualize my feet being on the floor. And that's all I would do. And then I'd get my feet on the floor. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm here. So now stand up, right? No, but don't stand. See yourself standing up. And then before I know it, I'd be standing up. Right. And so I do this now. I call it a flash forward. Like whether I'm doing cold exposure or whatever it may be, like just see yourself doing the thing and then watch how much easier it is to do the thing. Right. So are you trying to tell me that you knew how to practice mental rehearsal at whatever age? How old were you? Like 12, 13 years old or whatever it was? Or did someone teach you this stuff? Was it just inborn into you or just how'd that work?
Yeah, this is a great question. Deep dive into my psyche here.
Yeah. Because I mean, if we could teach this skill
Yeah.
to mental project and mental rehearse, like people do not understand the power of visualization. And they just, even when you teach it to them, they still don't get it. Like my whole life is visualization. It's all already been seen. Every time I'm experiencing something fully because I'm like, oh, I've been here before. I created this. Like, how cool is that? All right. I'm going to share one more thing with you because I think you're gonna love this. I was teaching a group of men recently who are going through integrated mindset about the power of visualization. And I said, I want you to develop a life that you will fall in love with in your mind first. Fall in love with your future. Like literally fall in love with every single aspect of your life. And then take a step in the direction of that life. Take an authentic action to affirm that's the version of yourself that you are becoming. And then when you recognize that life is unfolding in the way that you created, that you fell in love with, then you can fall in love with yourself. And this process of falling in love with your life and then stepping into it will be the process of you falling in love with yourself. And when you fall in love with yourself, like everything changes. Like legitimately, the world will just form around you. So this process for you, like I know you do so much vision work and mental projection, mental rehearsal. Like how does that speak to you today?
Yeah. It's funny. This is the one thing I do with a lot of people. It's a really easy exercise that gets them to start to think about vision. And I can't pinpoint when exactly this hit for me, but when you look around, right, everything we've talked about, this is once an idea, right? Like the sign behind me, this Make It Happen podcast was not a thing 3 years ago. It was an idea, and then we bring those into fruition, into reality, right? And for some reason, I think it ties back to my mom, those three outcomes. I guarantee you subconsciously, I was already planted, talk about something, create something in the future, go get it. Because we did. Like she would cast those out. And that's where a lot of it, I think, comes from. And then I don't know, when you talk about the mental rehearsal piece of things, it just kind of seemed like, I don't know. I just knew I had a good feeling because I'd been in an early morning before. I knew what it was going to be like. And it was really like those two forces, right? Pain and pleasure. I just linked so much pleasure to changing my life. Like one thing that I love that Tony Robbins says is people change when they reach a threshold. And I just had reached that threshold. I was so sick and tired of being the guy that didn't win the push-up comp or like just physical wise, right? Like I was really not flexible. And it's funny looking back, I remember so well my stepdad, he was just messing with me, but he was like, my hamstrings were so tight when I was whatever, fifth grade. And he was like, you know, if you're going to be a receiver in the NFL, like, you can't have tight hamstrings. And that like broke me down. I was like, kid, I guess I'm never going to be a receiver in the NFL because like my hamstrings are tight. I didn't realize that I could stretch them out. But all of a sudden, though, I started to understand this. I was like, whoa, this is an unfair advantage. Like, this life is a video game. You can upgrade yourself. You can upgrade your thoughts. You can do any one of these things. And for me, the physical transformation was that first piece. But I wasn't able to create that physical body without seeing it first. And so I think even too, like social media can be such a double-edged sword, but that vision of seeing those D1 guys, I started to see myself in like those pictures. But I knew that it wasn't, that's not what was going to get me there. Like I needed to do the work. And so why would I not just visualize the process as well and doing that? And even something to this day too, you can tell I really love songs and listening to these, they link emotions. They're like anchors for me. And I listen to Watchful Guardian by Hans Zimmer, right? Dark Knight. And
Oh yeah.
I've been doing this.
It's all my workout reel.
It's the best, right? So when I was a freshman in college, I've been doing this forever where I visualize the end result, but I also visualize the process leading up to it because there is no fight in Rocky without the montage. And so I honestly, this is a key question. And I know I'm kind of bouncing around here, but I'm just dropping every tool that is coming to my mind that helped me do this. I started to realize subconsciously the importance of focus. And my question, it comes back to that word legendary, right? What's the most epic and legendary response? That became my primary question because I knew in order to get these results, I needed to have crazy stories about me, right? Like I needed to have someone being like, this guy would always go in the weight room and lift at lunch, or he would always be watching film at this time, or he was just a grinder in the math class and he was just doing problems. Like I just knew how they needed to talk about me. And even as I'm saying this to you now, like this is crazy that I was able to I just started picking up on this because I was just going after the goal and I'm a very thought dominant person. I've really learned about myself and I didn't really understand that before. So even talking it out with you now is good, but I heard what people were saying about my future self. I knew what I needed to think about myself. I knew how I wanted to feel about that next version of myself. And like you said, right, like falling in love with the future. I had this thought yesterday while I was meditating when I came back out, and I was thinking, and I just was like, man, people look forward to a movie on the weekend. People look forward to entertainment. People look forward to family time. But why don't you look forward to your future? Why don't you look forward to your growth? Like, right? Like we aren't, I love whenever I go to schools, I say, you aren't lazy, guys. You aren't lazy. I'm going to tell you right now, you're not lazy. You just don't have something to wake up for. You don't have something to, take the actions that you want to take for, right? And so that's a lot of it, right? Like having that compelling future, reaching that threshold. And yeah, like all those little things that you talk about, all those details of it's got to be as detailed as that. Like, what are people saying about you? What do people think about this person? Not that that really matters, but like that's a part of your future self, right? The perception of that person. And that was really important to me. And a lot of that stuff is from watching different videos and feeding my mind great brain food, as I like to say it.
Yeah. Well, all of it is, and some people who maybe listen to this might think, well, that sounds a little egoic, right? To like, what are people saying about you? Like, yeah. I mean, what are people saying about me to me? What are people saying about me when I'm not there? Like, all of those little pieces are a formation that you then can be connected to emotionally, right? And it's the ability to construct yourself into the version of yourself that can achieve. I always say this: set a goal, set a worthy ideal, set a vision or a clarity of what you want in the future, and then very simply figure out who is it that you need to become to be able to execute that and begin to close the gap, right? How is it that you need to think? How is it that you need to breathe? How is it you need to walk? How is it you need to treat people? What do you need to be doing every day? And step one step into that future every day. Right. And so it's not egoic because it turns into what you are relentless with and why you inspire me so much. It turns into service for other people. Like you've recognized that you have a certain level of awareness and knowledge and information and practice and credibility now because of where you are and what's on the horizon, that you can turn back and give this to other people. So I want to hear from you. This is gonna be a multifaceted thing. A couple of things. I have like 3 questions for you. Number one is, you mentioned something. I got to go back real fast before I forget.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've talked over a few things, and so I'm like, we got to come back to a couple of things. Number one is, what were your 3 pillars? What are your 3 pillars?
Yeah. So these are big 3 pillars. So these are my guiding force. So
Yeah.
number one is make it to the NFL. That's the first one. So football, really football,
Yeah.
right? And that has been, like, I feel like I might have told you or someone else. That's the story of the first quarter of my life. I'm 22, and it's going to be, next April is the draft. It's when the scouts start calling, all that stuff. So I've been grinding that for over a decade now in terms of actually really pursuing that. The second one is to impact 1 billion people in terms of actually improving the quality of their life. And so that's service. So, whatever that's through, right? We've talked about that. A lot of that's not going to be through me directly. It's going to be, I want to lead the leaders. I want to do what you're doing with me right now and attract those people into my life and be able to serve and mastermind and do all these things to go create a positive effect in leadership in this world that leaves a dent that is not attached to my name. It's just attached to how it serves others. And then the third one, and this one's a little crazy, but
well, the first and the second one are kind of crazy too, just to let you know. There's crazy all the way through all these, man. It's all good.
The third one, and this one's going to be, it's going to be a long process, but I'm excited for this one because to me, it's really going to be a big focus on the back half of my life of how can I create systems, create values for others. And it's become a billionaire. And so what I want to do with that is I realize, right, if my goal is to impact, then I need to be able to have these resources as well to do incredible things. Because there's a billionaire in Spokane that just passed away recently. And he was the one that founded or helped get that Provision building, right? And be a huge part of that. And so that Eastern, there's so many things that I want to give, and I want to be able to have a lot of things run, like I said, without my name, without me there. And I know with that financial power, you're able to do some pretty incredible things. So those are the 3 pillars. And as you can see, one of them will be coming to a close here really next year or whenever it is until I get that done. And I'm not really like super attached to these either. It's more just like they are a guiding light every single day, right? Like does it fill into these buckets? No, done, right? And so that's really my 3 outcomes right now. I haven't told many people those, and those are some pretty big ones. But and obviously, like, there's so many goals underneath that, and I'm really just focused on winning the day, right, to get to that point. But I think it gives people a good idea of, like, I began with the end in mind, and everything works back from there.
Yeah, and then you set the micro goals to help you progress towards it on a daily basis, right? Yeah, that's where we won't turn this into a mental toughness lesson for the listeners, but that's what you're doing. So, something that I want to hear this, because somebody who this is something I underlined and circled here as you're talking, I'm taking notes. Somebody who has a lot going on, right? I want you to talk about your camp and different things too, because you have these huge 3 pillars, and that's kind of helped me lead into my next question is, but before we go into it, something that has so much going on. I mean, you're going to college, first of all, like that's usually enough for everybody. You're a collegiate athlete. You have a podcast called Make It Happen Podcast. You run a camp. This is going into its 2nd or 3rd year of this camp up in Canada for
third one, yeah.
3rd year for Canadian football players, right? To be exposed to, a level of instruction and mentorship that in the past you didn't experience before, and that gives back to somewhere, right? And so like you have that piece plus you have an app, right? I mean, I'm just trying to illustrate to people, and then I'm going to let you unfold this. All of this piece, there's so much going on, but something that I was really, really curious about before we dive into all those pieces is sounds you said something and you kind of rolled over the top of it, but I caught it. Okay. That there was this when I asked you about your inspiration and I asked you about your motivation, you said there was this voice inside of you. There's some sort of a guiding message that you were receiving. And I've been really, really curious about this in my life recently. I've been doing a lot of simplification, a lot of decluttering, a lot of slowing down and mastering listening. And now I'm not talking about listening, you and me listening. I'm talking, well, I do that too, but I'm talking about, listening to like that inner guidance system, that intuition, God, whatever somebody wants to call it, right? But to me, it's God, right? And it's this feeling that I'm always protected, I'm always directed, and I'm always going to be corrected, right? Like it's so much clarity where like there's just no fear. There's just no fear. And all I know I have to do is relentlessly focus on the process, right? And so I'm curious, like your early days, your early life, there was a level of simplicity to it. You even said, hey, there wasn't furniture. Like I could run around and play, right? Like it's the only way you knew. And I just wonder how do you keep things simple enough at this point where you're able to listen? Right? Because I think that simplicity in your early age were formative for you to be able to really tap into something that most people don't even know exists inside themselves, because we all have it. We all have the inner guiding system. We all have a bigger calling. We all should need to be pursuing for a level of mental and emotional well-being. That there is a specialty role that lives within each of us. There's a way that we can bring something to the world that is unique to us. We can make an impact that is unique to us individually, right?
Yeah.
And I believe that wholeheartedly, right? So how do you keep things in this stage of your life with all of that going on? Before we talk about what all of that even is, and you kind of hit on it a little bit, how do you keep things simple enough to where you're able to continue to listen and not get distracted and not have things be distorted?
Yeah. I think once again, going back to those simpler times, right? You mentioned that I was an only child. And so there's another little gift that I had. And I actually even now, like I never really have a problem being alone and being with my thoughts. In fact, some of the most incredible experiences in terms of coming into those insights are when I'm with myself and just contemplating. I used to always have imaginary friends. I feel like I told you this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd make up all these situations in my head. I never really needed anything to play with. Like I could create anything with my mind and go have fun doing it. And oh, it's just so cool to look back how I created these visions within my head. And that's really, a gift that we both share. I believe there's a couple things, right? There's a couple pillars that have really been coming to like, hey, what is the specialty role? What have I been given? Definitely that imagination, that vision, and that keeps it simple, but also guides me. And I believe completely with you there too. I'm navigating this as we speak, but all the stuff that you've guided me to and that I've seen, I got emotional when you were talking about it there because there's a creator and he's just has had so much grace for me in my life, and I'm so forever grateful for every day to him as well. Yeah, anyways, sorry, that's just like so powerful to me, that gratitude. And so that imagination and that vision, and then also just like my ability to speak and putting those things together, really like the more you know who you are, the more you can be real with yourself for what you really want. And that's what I think keeps it simple. And so the more I get to know myself, as soon as I find something that's a no, it's a no. If I don't like it, if it doesn't, if I just doesn't, it doesn't feel right, if I'm not being called to it, it's done. I think with all the stuff that I have going on too, a lot of it is who, not how. And so there's incredible people that I know, like I said to you, right? Like we only have so much time, me and you. And so it's going to be teams that we need to lead in order to create the depth and breadth of impact that we really want. And so I think it's a continual process of checking in. This day and age, I mean, there's so much going on all the time, and you only have so many morsels of focus. They're so valuable. And they literally are talking about it like attention is the new oil, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so people are talking about day trading attention, which is crazy, but that's the world that we live in. And so for me, like I said, it's constantly being real with myself. And I think I'll talk about it here. If people know you and they don't already know about TM, then I don't know who they are. But transcendental meditation has been one of the most impactful tools ever for getting to know myself, for getting closer to that voice, for, yeah, like to me, when you get to know yourself, your life becomes more simple because you know who you're growing into. I'm not saying that. I really believe that everyone's limitless and not that everyone's going to become Superman, but that our potentials are so much greater than we could even start to understand.
Yeah.
However, I believe that like we do have these gifts and these roles, like we've talked about, specialty role that you meant to step into. And so that's really how I keep things simple, is just looking for that and what's true to me. And so there's times where it's uncomfortable and that's good. But there's times where, it's a different type of uncomfort where it just doesn't, it's not fitting. And that's when I think it's time to, be an essentialist, right? It's a really good book, Essentialism,
Yeah.
and get rid of those things that don't matter.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a level of alone time I'm hearing. There's a level of reflection. There's a level of time where you're becoming familiar with, which is one of my favorite definitions of meditation. My two favorite definitions. One is to become familiar with, and then the second one is to develop an internal domain that's independent of our external circumstances. Right? And those when we go inward, we are able to birth not only that familiarity with ourselves, so get to know ourselves, to listen to that voice, but then we're able to then come back out to the world. This it's a focus orientation shift where the majority of the world is so externally focused that they never even have an opportunity to go inward, right? So we have to master performance. It's actually something I was going to teach you offline, something I've been researching and teaching recently, is this shift of orientation, external, internal, back to external. Like how seamlessly can we do that to the point where it becomes almost like subtle, and then it almost seems like we have an orientation to both at the same time.
Yeah, I love that. Wow.
But at first it feels a little bit rigid, and then because our brain can't focus on one or the other, or can't focus on both at the same time. But eventually we can be aware of our internal domain and what's going on outside at the same time simultaneously. And that's when it becomes like a level of grace to it. So I hear that in what you're talking about. And yes, TM is a game changer. And it's just, I don't know if it has to be just TM for people, but the more I practice it, the more I'm going down that trail of learning advanced techniques and everything else, the more I'm like, man, be good for you too. And you, and you, and you, and you, and you. My whole family has their mantra now. Did you know that? Did I tell you that?
Yeah, and you know what? That's one thing I'll wait until you're on my podcast, but the way that you are parenting your kids and leading your kids is you're leading me right now without even leading me, because as soon as I'm about to have a kid, I'm calling you and I'm getting the blueprint, because just oh my gosh, the gifts that you're giving them and the people that they're going to become, and oh my goodness, just these pillars that some people never experience in their life. They're experiencing like right before they're even, how old? 10, right? Like
10 and 11, yeah.
10 and 11, right? 10 and 11. So I just had to say that real quick. It's incredible.
Well, we enjoy it. We enjoy the process, and it's not perfect, but we're unfolding it, and it's my greatest honor, my greatest joy. Like you talk about pillars. What gets me out of bed in the morning, there's a couple of things. Number one is my children. And number two is wondering what is that specialty role how it's going to unfold today. Like legitimately, in what way, what can I bring to the world today that only I can bring to the world? I can't wait to find out. Like that, just that level of curiosity for me, like that I want to know what that looks like today. Yeah, and living that out. So no, I appreciate that. I appreciate your kind words. So meditate, people. Become familiar with themselves. So talk to me just a little bit. I want people to hear about some of these things that you're doing, so they know what you're up to, besides just having a big dream of impacting a lot of people and playing the NFL, and obviously we're going to be watching we're going to be watching as the next year unfolds, and it's football season again before you know it. And the Eagles are back on the red field for some more magic and all these type of things that are going to be happening. But talk to me a little bit about what it means to make it happen. What is that? Because that's kind of your theme.
Yeah.
And everything comes from that. You got your podcast, you got your camp, you got your app. What's all that about?
Yeah. So it really all started with the podcast. So a couple of years ago, once again, I love telling these stories, right? Because we communicate through stories, and these are real decisions that I made. And I was watching the Tony Robbins "I'm Not Your Guru"
Oh
documentary
yeah.
with my girlfriend the second time. I had watched it when I was younger, and it lit a fire on me on the plane. I remember I started writing in a journal. And looking back now, it's just so cool that someone can have an impact like that on someone. And so we were watching it for the second time, and he was doing an intervention, and just his level of presence, his congruency, his ability to serve someone else. It was like, God, right? Like you call it, like it was coming through him in that present moment to serve this individual. And I was watching with my girlfriend, and I was like, that's what I want. That's what I want. Now, I didn't even know even close to what that meant back then, but it really started me on this path of, okay, like football is awesome, but it honestly kind of pushed me away from football for a little bit, because I was like, dang, like me catching a ball of air between white lines is not actually like impacting anybody. It might be entertaining someone, giving them a little bit of joy. But man, like Julian Edelman won the Super Bowl MVP however many years ago. No one really talks about that anymore. And did it really like change someone's life? Yeah, it inspired me, inspired kids. And that's why I love doing what I'm doing with football. But look at what Tony's doing. Like he's shifting someone's whole family tree in a moment. In a moment. And so he's giving them those stories that I'm telling right now with his abilities. And so that's what really started me on this. And I thought, what's the easiest way I could do this? I remember hearing on a podcast, and this is what I'm saying, like, whoever's listening to this, stop thinking, take action. Like it's so simple to put content out there to do whatever you want now. You could go buy a 4K camera for less than $1,000 and start making incredible cinematic YouTube videos if you wanted to. You could start developing your own app. You could go speak on a stage at Toastmasters next week and start working on your speaking abilities. There's so many things that you could do. And I remember I was listening to this podcast 3 years before when I'm in high school, and these guys were talking about Anchor, this app, and how you can create podcasts from your phone. And so I was like, why would I wait to impact? If Tony was in my shoes, he would start impacting right now. And so, boom, I don't even know how it came to me, but I just remember hearing this, and I'm like, you know what? Like some people make excuses in life, and some people make it happen. And I honestly, I'm glad that you asked me that question, like what it means to make it happen, because the reality is, especially in football, I say it like this: make it happen in preparation, and let it happen in performance. Like making it happen does not mean to force things. It means all the things that I talk about. Get your burn, get your why, get those 3 outcomes, and go create your life, because you only get one. That's what it means to make it happen. Take actions every single day and win the day. And so that's what it formed out of. And then I really, like, to be honest, I was just regurgitating a lot of Tony's teachings on the podcast, because I was like, this is my base right now, and I think more people should hear this. And it's super inspiring to me. So I'm going to share this stuff out, and I'll tell personal stories from it. So I went pretty crazy that July. And then I really made a shift to it where I was like, oh man, I don't want to post on my social media because I want everyone to look at me a certain way. And then I was like, screw it. Let's grab the iPhone. Let's make some like not great quality videos of me out back, like saying this Tony stuff, and I'll put it out there. Started doing that. And I started putting myself into the world. I stepped into the light a lot more. I had always been a grind in silence. Our thing in high school was MSM, make silent moves. And I just don't agree with that anymore, because your ability to be the lighthouse in this day and age is so incredible, because you're always ahead of somebody, right? Like whatever that means. But there's always someone that's looking up to you. And so if anything, I wish I would have started earlier. And so started the podcast. I got a huge amount of buzz, and it's still doing pretty good. And it really was just like the foundational element for me to share my voice, to get guests on, to create relationships, right? Like, like a podcast necessarily isn't like to get millions of views. And one day I'll have a great studio setup that, I'm in my college friggin' townhouse. I need my signed football in the back and my nice setup. I'll have that eventually. But I know where I'm at, and that's okay. It's not perfect. Like you said, just like parenting. So I started the podcast, and then I always wanted to do a camp back home. So I did one, and this was just me and my coach. We went back to Canada, just the kids at my school, really. So that was cool. And then Greg Peach was like, "Oh, I heard you did a camp up in Canada." And Greg Peach, for those who don't know, Defensive Player of the Year in FCS football, Buck Buchanan Award winner at Eastern Washington University. I mean, Big Sky Hall of Fame, 10-year CFL veteran, like the man. And he runs a Provision Academy now in Spokane. So he was like, "I'll come up with you." All of a sudden, that turns into me bringing up 20 guys from the States up to Canada. We had 86 kids last year, and that was incredible. All proceeds go to a single mother charity. Me, that's really my way of giving back.
Hmm.
And yes, it's increasing the brand and all these things, but it's always going to be that. We want to make it the best football camp in the entire world in terms of a developmental standpoint, because all these camps, they get run for the wrong reasons. Stars, the drip, you see the culture nowadays. It's about the coaches more than anything. And yeah, we're bringing up star coaches, but we're bringing them to impact. That's what it's all about. And just like you said it perfectly. You know exactly how I think. It's about giving back to those people that were in my shoes, giving them what I never had. Like if I could have got all this information right there, it's like a one-stop shop for everything you need to go to the next level in football. And so that's really what the camp is. So this year, it's blown up. We got 46 camp coaches coming up. We
Wow.
just got sponsored by the NFL, so we're a partner with the NFL now, which is that we posted that yesterday, and that blew up. We got
Congratulations.
four NFL alumni, and then one current NFL guy coming up, and that's like we're going to get a lot more in the future. We partnered with this team out on the East. They're going to give $500 away to the two kids. We've got like 70 signups right now, and we're still a month out, so I think it'll be a pretty awesome event. We're going to bring together the community. We have a youth camp this year as well. We're going to be partnering with some NHL guys. And so this thing's growing into a beast, and it's really cool. Like my first true company and business that I started. And so it's been really good for me to learn those base skills, right? To go accomplish that ultimate pillar one day and meet incredible people. That's really the biggest thing. It's opened my eyes to what's possible. I mean, we had a guy at the camp last year, like I told you, that's making $1 million a month. And so that was really, really cool. So that's one thing. And then, yeah, we were like, hey, how do we further development this or develop our ability to impact these athletes? And my thing is like, we have a world-class process here at Eastern, and people, it's tough to see where I started here, but if they would have seen where I started to where I am now, and some of these other guys that have come through, they're gonna talk about the things that we're building over here for years to come, whether that's receiver technique, whether that's just like overall process with it in terms of strength and conditioning football. We've been obsessed with this. Like it's all we think about. And so we have an app. I have an app with my strength coach, TJ Conley, and we have 15 athletes on there right now, strength speed program. And then we've got all sorts of resources from every aspect of their performance, the whole performance profile. We teach off of that and filling that app out for those guys. So really it's the camp. And then if they want to continue the development with us, they go through there. And then we have weekly coaching calls. And so that's some of the things I got going on. And like you said, everything's got to pour back into the football bucket because that's number one. And so when I'm on Make It Happen Performance, it's the highest form of mastery for myself. I'm putting together systems, and it holds me accountable because I can only lead these guys to the level of accountability of commitment that I have within myself. And then same thing with the football camp. Like I said, being able to hang out with these NFL guys, all these things, it really gives me a ton too. And so and then also I speak as well. So I do have quite a things long, but they're all kind of intertwined, right? And it's these base skills that I know that we need to make the impact that we want to make. And so those are all the things that I got going on. And really the whole goal is I don't want my life to be about me. I want it to be about other people. We're all going to be forgotten. And so my biggest goal is to create cultures that live on without me, because that's what I think is the most powerful thing, something that continues to impact long after I'm gone. So those are the goals with that. So it's been a busy May, like I told you, getting those things rolling.
That's a lot going on, man. I don't know where you fit it all in. And you also have a girlfriend. And, so I don't take it personal, by the way, when I send you a message and it's like a week before you respond. I'm like, dude, chances are I never even see it. I mean, there's just to let you know, there's plenty of grace over here coming from me.
I appreciate that. And it's likewise, because I know the impact that you're making and the work that you're doing. And I think even off of that too, a lot of people are like, how do you do it? Or like your focus is spread too thin. Who, not how, right? Like the app, like I wouldn't have been able to do it without TJ. The camp, we have an incredible marketing team. And then I think at the end of the day too, this is what people don't want to talk about with success and creating stuff. I put in 10 to 12 hour days with football every single day. And I come home and I do this stuff. I go to bed at 8, I wake up at 4, like I wake up at 4 or 5. On the weekends, guess what I do? I do the exact same thing. Like I love what I'm doing so much. This is all I do. Some people would get nauseous by how much work I do, but that's what it takes, especially when I want to do all these things. I know that it takes that, and it's already been so incredible. Like, and that's what I would say to people is you are the most important project that you'll ever work on. And I will never regret investing in myself or doing these things. Definitely got to balance a little bit with the girlfriend, keep that happy. But we
Well,
find ways.
someday if you have a family, there's going to have to be some give and take. But
For
I was
sure.
going to ask you for one piece of advice, and you may have just said it, but I'm going to still ask you the question.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice that you would want either your younger self to hear, or somebody who like is just not quite where they want to be in life, and they want something more, they want something different.
Yeah. I would say to that person first, I think, because I'm always not where I want to be.
Sure, of course.
And I had this incredible breakthrough a couple weeks ago where I was just beating myself up. I'm like, I'm not impacting enough. I'm not doing this. The camp's not going the way it's supposed to. And if I'm thinking that way now, what's going to change when I have everything that I want, right? What's going to change? Nothing's going to change. And so I would say to that person, it's everything that we talked about. It's going to be so repetitive. You're going to be like, you know what? Shut up. It's the fundamentals every single day. It's working on yourself. It's like I said, win the day. We say that here at Eastern, win the day. Find out what those actionables, those best practices that you have within every area of your life, and do them. Do them. Win the day. And when you compound those and stack those wins, it's dangerous. But we talked about it before, right? Like you need to see a future that no one else does and believe in that. And guess what? I know that whoever's listening to this, I believe in you. Ryan, you believe in them 110%, right? And so that's all they need. That's all they need. They can come back to that and just let that fuel their action.
I love this question. What does it look like to win today?
For myself?
No, I'm just saying, no, we don't have to keep going. I'm just saying, if we ask ourselves that question every day,
That's a great question.
It's in one of the courseworks that we do with the competitive edge content, right? And it's a preparatory question. How many days do we go through in life where we don't know what it looked like to win? And then we're not able to record the wins that we actually had, right? So to ask ourselves that simple question, what does it look like to win today? So, man, this is what it looked like to win today for me. Was to actually find a way to steal an hour plus of your time. And I thank you greatly for that. And I'm just inspired by you and just super pumped to be able to be in a place in life where I'm not only being a part of your life as a friend and as a peer, but also be able to kind of take a back seat to watching your life unfold and just being able to celebrate, support, and cheer you on. So thank you so much for just who you are and what you bring to the world and in your relentless attitude, man. It's just, we just need more of it, right? I need it in my life. So thank you.
Oh, I really appreciate those kind words. Like I said to you, you're different. You're very special. And I know you say we're peers, but you're definitely, such an incredible mentor for me. And just know, like I've been going back over that course content and all that stuff that we've talked about. It's greatly impacted my life in so many ways. And it's so cool to see your story and where you came from. It's just super inspiring for me too, of how, just like you said, you've chased that self-mastery process for so much longer than I have. And I'm excited to keep following in your footsteps and keep our relationship going. It's going to be really cool. I was thinking about this when we listen to this podcast, and then when I interview you, when we look back in 20 years, it's going to be really cool to look back at this.
Well, you mentioned that when the first time we met, that something special was going to happen. I think we're just getting started. So it's just
absolutely.
It's the best is yet to come, my friend. So thank you again, man.
Of course.
Thank you for listening. Remember, leaders go first. Alignment matters. And the environment that you create is the legacy you'll leave. We'll see you on the next episode.